Hello and welcome to episode 149 of Daryl Show Your Work. All right, so in this episode, I'll be enumerating Windows configuration vulnerabilities with the script known as PrivescCheck. Excuse me. All right, so before I dive any further into exactly what that is, I'm going to preface this video with my usual disclaimer anytime I'm doing these sort of red teaming or offensive security actions by saying that this is for ethical research and educational purposes only. Any sort of malicious activity that may directly or indirectly come from watch this video, I do not take responsibility for, nor do I condone. All right, so what exactly is PrivescCheck? So it's a script which aims to enumerate common Windows configuration issues that can be leveraged for local privilege escalation. It also gathers various information that might be useful for exploitation and or post-exploitation. All right, so I've already actually have this loaded on our victim's machine. So this is again why it's pertinent for me to exploit this system, for me to get on that machine and be able to run this this script in order for us to see how it can enumerate any sort of configuration vulnerabilities or associated configuration mishaps or any associated vulnerabilities. All right. So to get started, I've done some things prior to recording. I've gotten my IP address here, which is 10.10.40.4. Also, our target is located at 10.3.25.141. All right, so the next thing for me to do here is actually, instead of doing Nmap scan, I'm just going to jump straight into the Metasploit framework, and I'm going to be using something known as the web delivery module. And I'll be discussing what that is more once I get into this. All right, so the first thing that I need to do is to start up the PostgresqL database. All right, so let's start that up, and I'm going to combine that with the step to initiate the MSF console, which is going to take me into the Metasploit framework. All right, so now that I have that up, I'm going to create a workspace for myself, and I am going to name this workspace web delivery, since that is the module that I'm going to be working with here to get onto our target host. All right, and then I'm going to set our target host as a global variable. Not that I'll be jumping from module to module, but it's just a good time saving tactic here to use, not to just having the one less thing I have to configure here, because I am going to have to configure some things once I enter into that module. All right, so that's going to be set globally. All right, and then I'm going to actually search for the exploitation module. So I'm going to say search web underscore delivery. Okay, so what is the web delivery module? So the web delivery module, it quickly loads up a web server that serves as a payload in itself. So it's going to generate some PowerShell code, and I'll be copying over that command to the victim's machine, and then downloading the payload and executing it within a command prompt. So we're going to be seeing all that here. And it's just a quick way for me to gain entry into the system without having to look for any sort of potential vulnerability in the system, since I'm going to be looking for those vulnerabilities once I'm in there. All right, so web delivery, it looks like that is module 5 here on the list. So I'm going to say use 5. All right, so let's go to show options. I know up front there's going to be some things I have to configure here. Okay, so I'm going to have to set my target here. It looks like I have to set my LHOST as well. So I'm going to say set target, and I'm going to say I'm going to explain what I'm doing here when I'm going to say PS capital PSS SH backslash, and then I'm going to put in parentheses capital B binary. And so what I'm doing there, that's to set the target to Powershell. So I'm going to basically I'm basically going to tell this module to open up Powershell, and that's going to be my the initial program that I target here. All right, and I'm also going to set the payload here to a reverse shell. So I'm going to say set payload to Windows. Oops. All right, go back. Shell reverse underscore TCP. So it's going to set up a reverse shell targeting a TCP port. All right. And then last thing I need to is I want to disable the PowerShell code from being encoded with base 64. So in order to do that, I'm going to say set PSH, which is short for PowerShell. Say encoded -encoded command, and we're going to set that to false. All right, so that's going to take that again, that base 64 encoding off. All right, and then of course I have to set my LHOST. As I've shown in some previous videos, I can do that instead of just directly pasting my IP address. I could just simply paste it. I could simply just type in the interface that I'm working off of that's associated with that IP address, which is Ethernet 1, and it's going to automatically assign that IP address to this LHOST. Okay, so now that I've done that, I think I have enough here to exploit. So what's going to happen when I exploit this, instead of it immediately either open up a Meterpreter session for me or a command shell for me, it's going to actually bring back over some PowerShell code, and then I have to paste that PowerShell code into the command prompt of our victim machine, and then that's what's going to get me my Meterpreter session. All right, so or actually my command shell. Okay, so let's copy this code right here, everything from PowerShell exe over. All right, copying that. All right, so over here, I'm in the Kali machine. I'm gonna switch over to the victim machine. And then I'm gonna say CMD to open up command prompt. All right, so let's paste what I've copied. Do you remember what I copied? Okay, may have to go back over here for whatever reason. All right, let's see this. Let's make sure we copy that whole thing. There we go. Okay. All right, so it disappeared, but let's see what's happening on this end. Okay, so we can see this center stage. All right, so it looks like command shell session open. All right, so I have a command shell. So I want to interpret a session here. So I'm gonna show another way in which we could gain that, and just still doing a sessions -u1 for upgrade. I'm gonna show a different way. All right, so let me see. So I think it may throw me out of here. And this one acts kind of funny. Yeah, see, I knew it. Okay, but we can see that I have root access. All right, so let's jump back in. Let's do some initial enumeration here. So I'm gonna jump back into sessions 1, since that's the only session I have going. And again, for those that may have not seen, who am I? I have what said I had root. That's interesting, but now it's saying that that I'm student. So student would imply that I only have, I'm basically a basic user here, which is interesting. Okay, so I say host name. Let's see what the machine name is. All right, we see the machine name is attack defense. All right, so let's background this and let's get that interpreter session going. So say yes. All right, so another way I could do that, I'm gonna say search shell2 to put part of the name of the module here. All right, so shell2 interpreter. So that's going to allow me to, this is good, a post enumeration module that's going to allow me to upgrade my shell session to a interpreter session. I believe I've shown this in a previous video as well. So it still may be new to some people. So I'm going to say use 0 since that's the only module ID available. All right. I think I do have to set some stuff up here. Let's go to show options. Yeah, I definitely have to set up, tell it what session to target. All right, so we're gonna set LHOST to Ethernet 1. All right, then we're gonna set the session up to 1 since that's the only one I got going. All right, and then let's see, show. We can also see some advanced options. So advanced. All right, so I want to set from here. Let's set when underscore transfer VBS. All right, let's set that. All right, so we set the when transfer to VBS. And then let's go back to show options. I think there's one more thing that I may need to set in the regular options here. Okay, good. I'm looking at the L port. Cause remember, I previously used that the web delivery module. So that took up port 444. So I wanted to make sure that this was set to port 443. So there's no conflicting ports here. So that's great. All right, so let's run this and let's see what happens. I should have a interpreter session now, but let's see. Okay, we can see my IP address here with port 443. So we can see that Ethernet 1 did properly assign my IP address to that. All right, so if I say sessions, all right, we can see I have 2 sessions now, which is great. And I have actually a 64-bit session interpreter going. All right, so I'm going to say sessions 2. Oh, forgot the S on sessions. And this should put me into my interpreter. All right, so let's do sysinfo and just gain some more insight as far as our machine. All right, so it looked like it's running Windows Server 2019 and has an architecture of 64 bits, and I'm running a 64-bit um, interpreter session here. And I'm not sure why this thing is still going here, but no problems. So let's see what processes are running here. If I camera, okay, great. All right, so we see we have quite a bit of processes running. So I want to, let's say I wanted to migrate. All right, my process here. It doesn't look like I need to migrate actually. But those who may be unaware, I'll just review it anyway. Let's say I wanted to, well, I can do the reason I can do it in this instance. I'm a migrate to Explorer EXE is giving me some ideas here because it tends to be the most stable process, 64-bit process to migrate to. All right, so I won't get any sort of disconnections or hiccups or anything like that. So let's see if we can narrow down because it might be multiple instances of Explorer running. So let's see what it comes back as far as process ID. All right, so we have 2 different process IDs here, and that's what I meant. We may have multiple instances of the same process running. So I'm going to choose the latter option here, and let's see if I can successfully migrate to Explorer based on that. So I'm saying migrate, and I have to give it a process ID, which is 2544. and let's see if that works. If not, I can use the other one to try to migrate to. It looks like that worked. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to be able to navigate to the Privesc, PrivescCheck, excuse me, folder to be able to run that script. All right, and on a target host. All right, so we can begin to see what that actually looks like. So I'm gonna say say cd. All right, so I'm all right now. I'm in a root directory of the C drive. All right, and then let's go to the user folder. Let me see. It didn't like that. Oh, because I had to put an S on users. All right, then I'm gonna say cd student. Go to the student folder, and then cd desktop. All right, and now let's see. Let's do a dir to see what's in here. All right, so we can see that we have just two options here. Privesc folder, and then also a looks like a desktop ini file. So again, we want to go into that Privesc folder in order to in order to be able to get to the file that's going to allow me to execute that 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 privs check code. All right, so let's do cd. Privs check. All right, dir. All right. So I'm going to execute this. I'm going to execute this file here. So I'm going to say PowerShell, since that's the application that we're going to be using to do so. Dash EP. I want to bypass the execution policy here. All right. And then let's see. Let's end the quote, and then I'm going to say. All right. Then I wanted to give it the file that I wanted to execute, which is PrivescCheck. .ps1. All right, and then I'm gonna tell it to invoke privsccheck. All right, so this should execute that for me, bypassing any sort of execution policies that may get in the way. So let's get that running. Hopefully my syntax is great. So let's see. If it's not, then I'll have to make some adjustments. And it is not. So let's see. I have a feeling I know what's doing it. Let's put some space here with this quote. All right, let's run that again. Nope. All right, what is it not like in here? There's EB bypass. Let me see. All right. Huh. Everything should be. Let's see. Check for any sort of. Say it doesn't like something with the PowerShell. EP bypass. Just checking my syntax here. No, that's right. So look, it's not liking something PowerShell EP bypass. Let's see. Just checking my spacing here. Everything should be good to go. Huh. Press check. Unknown command PowerShell. Oh, duh. You know what the problem is? I had to execute the shell. Okay, so I was gonna say no, my syntax actually looked right. Okay, so I actually have to execute the shell and actually run this from the command line. So that's what was wrong. Okay, so let's try this again. I had to write this out again since it's not going to be in the history. All right, so dash ep bypass dash c period slash, and we want this to execute privs check.ps1, give a semicolon there, then invoke privs check and then end quote. Okay, so this check in everything there, so I should be good to go now. So let's see. Great, it's running. All right. All right, so what this is going to do is going to list out some privilege escalation checks and vectors within the configuration. All right, so I'm gonna go up a little bit. So it didn't take that long to run. Just took me a while to get here, but no problems with that. All right, so we saw some clear text. Looks like some clear text credentials there for the administrator account. All right, so just showing you some vulnerabilities right off the bat that it's highlighting. All right, so all right, so again, we can see that that this list is privilege escalations, checks and vectors for configurations, credentials, system hardening mechanisms, scheduled tasks, services updates, and user account groups. So let's see what we can find. So as far as user identity, it's just, so it's telling us it found one result as far as a vulnerability with that. All right, and it found one for looks like for the student account. All right, it says get the full name of the current user along with. So it was able, basically it's saying it was able to get the full name of a user by running this check. All right, so if I'm doing the enumeration, this isn't news to me since this is the user I'm using. Apparently it's probably maybe the only other user on this machine. It was able to find this user account, but if there were other users, it would list out what those user accounts it was able to find. All right, so then we see groups, list out all groups that are associated with the current user's token. So now I can see what groups that I belong to, or at least what groups are here on this machine. All right, so we can see that we have 13 results there as far as privileges. All right, so it's telling me what my privileges are, what my account privileges are here. Environmental variables. So it found nothing in terms of that. Non-default services. So a list of all registered services and filter out the ones that are built into Windows. All right, so we can see there's quite a bit of AWS related services here. So this tells me that more than likely I'm using a virtual EC2 instance here, which is native to AWS. RCV services, service permissions. It says not vulnerable, so I didn't find any vulnerabilities there. Registry permissions, no vulnerabilities found there. Binary permissions, none found there. But it's giving you an idea of what vulnerabilities that it's looking for here that can be used for privilege escalation. All right, unquoted path, none there. SCM permissions, none there. Scheduled tasks. All right, didn't find anything as far as scheduled tasks. As far as the unquoted path, none there. As far as scheduled tasks, credentials, system backup files, found nothing there. Unattended files. Remember, if we go back to that unattended Windows setup file vulnerability that I did in the previous video, this is where it would list something like that. But apparently, this Windows system doesn't have that vulnerability. So far, it's actually looking like this Windows system is fairly hardened. Um, when log on, okay, so we can see that actually, no, there is an administrator account here. All right, so it has a user name, administrator, password, hello 123 321. So this verifies that there is an administrator account here, and it's giving me the um, clear text of credentials to be able to log on to that. So this is probably the most interesting thing that I found from this enumeration, and the vulnerability that I found is these clear text administrator um, um, credentials, which is a privilege escalation vector, which which would allow me to then be able to legitimately authenticate using a account that has elevated privileges. The only problem is that if I were to use these to legitimately logged on, well, there will be logs of that log on, and anything I do after that, it will form a trail from that. So that's the only drawback if I wanted to explore that as a privilege escalation um, um, vector. All right, credentials, as far as vault credentials, none found there. Vault list, none found there. GPP passwords, none found there. All right, as far as hardening mechanisms, run as PPL. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but it said it found a vulnerability there. As far as credential guard, um, so it's saying credential guard is present, all right, but it's not configured. So these are one of the configuration. And I guess it's saying the same thing here, which run as PPL. It's showing these misconfigurations that could be exploited as a vector for privilege escalation. All right, so it's showing that this is the misconfiguration part of it. As far as BitLocker, it said didn't find any problems with vulnerabilities with BitLocker. All right. Path folder permissions, nothing there. Hijackable DDLs. All right. So it's showing some libraries that can be exploited as far as privilege escalation here. It's found three. All right. See, as far as all configuration, always installed elevated. That's so it found that that's not vulnerable. That's not activated. WSUS configuration not vulnerable. SCCM cache folder, that's not vulnerable. See system up to date. Enumerate the installed updates and hot fixes and check whether the patch was installed in the last 31 days. All right, so it's basically isolated this particular update as as a particular attack vector. I'm guessing this is older. What according to this date is much older than 31 days. So yeah, so it isolated that for us. All right. And then we have a full report here of the Privsec uh, check report. All right, and it's showing us how many results it found for each section. All right, and it's giving us that number breakdown. All right. So, and that brings me brings me to the end of the video here. So, I wanted to just show how that PrivsCheck works. Again, this is a script that post enumeration, excuse me, post exploitation, specifically when dealing with a Windows machine. How we can then run that script and be able to get a good idea as far as what attack vectors or what privilege escalation vectors exist on the system, and then we can then potentially exploit those from there. So I skipped the whole. This was already. Usually I go through the whole process of getting this script onto the machine and everything, bypass that already had this script on the machine and really didn't, as far as exploiting the machine, just did a Windows delivery module. Base didn't really find any type of vulnerability to exploit the machine because I wanted to get us here to show exactly how this worked. So this is one of the quickest way I could think to get us on the machine without having to actually actually having to exploit a vulnerability, and just showing what this script looks like when it's ran on a target host and what type of information we can get back. And the most interesting thing that I got back from this was those clear text administrator account passwords. It was funny that the initial user check didn't find administrator account, but it did find administrator credentials. All right, so I would, again, not probably not the best way to to elevate my privileges, since again making a legitimate authenticating legitimately with those credentials starts to create a paper trail, then starts to do all those actions gets logged and probably make it easier for me to be found. But I found something. So anyway, please like, subscribe, and share. Most importantly, show your work. Until next time, take care of yourself and God bless.